Hey gang, good afternoon, or maybe good evening, depending on when this finds you. But this is Neil. I'm going to do a video for the simpler futures tonight, and looking at the S&Ps here. So we've got a decent little uptrend, obviously still intact here. Wicks on the lows from latter part of last week, decent closes, and we got continuation today. Actually, this pattern, this retracement, with the rejection of the lows would have you to anticipate a little bit of follow through higher. But here's the thing. We opened the week right in here about 30, I think it was 33.5 or 34 right in here. And we got about a 20-point expected move on the week, which would put this up to, about 55 or so right in there. Little thing about the S&Ps too, it's usually the sevens right in there that are the more prone to be the pivotal, number. Anyway, the exact, expected move would put it to about 55, but reasonably you might even see, 57 and, kind of back off a little bit. My thinking is, we can see some of that. Trade up a little bit more, find around a 55, 57 trade, and then start to back off back towards these 33s where there was all of this. Look at all that trade that, that was basically just, just oscillated right around a 33 print, a little higher, a little lower. I mean, balance right in at about 33, 34, right in there. Even to the extent of, closing up last week there and opening this week, right in that same area. So what to look for, and how do we get there? Well, a couple of things. In watching the euro, while this is playing out in the S&Ps, I'd be looking for a little bit lower here before we see the bounce. My idea for this, right around 111, maybe a little lower, but right around 111, and I'll be interested right about there and seeing some uptick continuation. That's going to be the inverse of that's going to be true for the dollar. So just so you kind of know what's going on there. And then also, I think it's very important to keep an eye on the yen. And for this reason, with the yen, we're seeing a little bit of weakness. At first of all, we were looking for targets right up in this area. They went a little higher than what I was looking for, but that's fine. It found the 200, started to back off. So we're starting to respect that 200 and back off a little bit. That's perfectly normal, and we'd look for that. But if we can come back and challenge about the half back on this big last reference candle that's in play here, which would be to test approximately that last pivot low. Now that's the level for the yen I'd be interested in seeing holding and start to trade higher. That would coincide with a likely high in the S&Ps for them to start to break. So if we get a print down into here and bounce higher for the yen, I'd be looking for the inverse of that in the ES, and that would be that the S&Ps have found a high at around 55 or 57 and they start to back off. Okay, so that'd be certainly something to keep an eye on. And then also in gold, it looks to me like they might want to go a little bit lower. Keep an eye on this area right in here. I don't know, that may be about 1240. It's going to be a little range in here. This would be my idea for this, and that is if when the yens continue a little bit lower and the euros continue a little bit lower, that gold continues just a little bit lower, them finding support, start to trade higher. Now when that happens, that would coincide with a bid in the yen and euro, and that's going to also help to turn the S&Ps away from that bid higher into their expected move that we're discussing. So these are the things that I'm watching in terms of correlations to set up alongside and then concert with the move in the S&P. It also gives you some trade ideas too, of course. And let's see, in crude, I got to tell you, um, I have an idea here. It's just not setting up yet, and so I want to kind of delay this one. I really kind of do want to delay this one a little bit, but what I'm looking for is like one of these type sessions where we can get a rejection of the lows, that kind of thing, to set up right in this area and start to trade us back to around 47, 48, where we can then see responsive selling take over and send this back down for another leg. But that's not quite setting up yet. So just to let you know, this is what I'm keeping an eye out for. But it's certainly, as you can see here in the current price action, we're not getting rejection of the lows down here yet. So not exactly setting up the way I had in mind anyway. And had some questions today about the beans, soybeans, corn, wheat, that kind of stuff. I like the beans, the idea that we do see a trade higher here in the beans. What I don't like is the fact that price is right here, and specifically because you got a wick on the bottom and a wick on the top, and that puts price right in the middle of sellers taking over on the highs, buyers buying the dip on the lows. Price settles in the middle where, is just basically settling back into, balance. And we're not really able to press either party. This in and of itself, this structure from today bodes, I think, better for a little bit of a bearish price action tomorrow. My idea for this is we'd go back and test the buyers on the wick down here at like 928. I want to see them hold that, reject that, and we start to work our way out of the hole on a little bit of sideways to possibly sideways to lower action tomorrow. Don't want to see it exceed that 928 level, and that those lows are bought like we saw here a few days ago, wick on the bottom, and we start to work our way back out and higher. Take a look at corn. Not as really. I mean, honestly, it's look, wick on the top, wick on the bottom, price in the middle. I mean, I can what I can see is about a 373 right in here trade tomorrow. That would be the place that I would want to see this hold. 370, maybe one, but right in that little area right there, hold and start to work our way out. Very similar to the idea that we have for the beans. Just a little bit lower, not much more, and anything lower than that is going to really get my attention, and not going to be happy with that price action. I'm not expecting that. I'm not anticipating that to be the case. Just a little bit lower, sideways to lower, reject these levels, and then out of the hole. And see, wheat's actually the one that's really holding up the best. For wheat, it'd be right in there. Wheat to me holds a 454 level, not to trade below. That's what I would not envision or not anticipate seeing wheat trade back below 454 and maintaining its bullish bias, but rather to do just very similar to what we're talking about in beans and corn. That is, sideways to maybe a little bit lower, work its way back out of the hole, so to speak. Next target for wheat up here about 480, and then we'll talk about something even better in the 490s. But right now, back off a little bit and then go worry about this next little pivot high that happened up here at about 480. Be the idea there. It's hard to get in the way of this that we see current price action in the S&Ps. They were up pretty decent little bit today, up about 16 or so on the day. It's more than I was looking for, I can tell you that. But we do have, a lack of participation, I guess, if you will, in citing the price action here in the tech, the Qs. 5,800 here to me is a test of basically the half back on this rather dismal Friday that occurred, 2 Fridays ago. So that is a very key test. It's not to say that we can't just go slip right through there, but that's not what I anticipate. I'd see about a 58, press it by a couple of points, maybe 58.05, and then likely that. And if that's the case, then that too would coincide with these other ideas that I've given you, where you'd be looking at about a 55 or 57 trade in the S&Ps and then start to roll back in to the mid 30s. So this is your warning shot, I guess, if you will, across the bow, and looking at what's going on here in tech. You see something that looks more like this in the S&Ps, new all-time highs, right? Well, obviously not the case over here in the Qs. We're doing all we can do at this point just to get it back to a half back on this 2% downtick that occurred on a Friday. So be mindful of that. It's kind of what's on my mind right now. It's sort of a plan for this week, and if anything drastic changes, then I can come back with another video and kind of update. But that's what I'm looking at for right now. And do hope this helps. You guys have good trading, nice evening, and I'll look forward to being with you again at the next update. Until then, good trading.